Hi everyone, Emily here from Emily's Excellent Epics, and today I have for you, I think this is video 3, it could be video 4, in my TBR that I'm thinking of using for the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do 2.0, created by QWERTY. And today I'm going to talk to you about the heritage prompts around the heritage prompts, translated prompts, and around the world prompt. And if you're not familiar with the reading challenge, it is this bingo board, and there's a prompt, and each prompt has multiple books that you need to read for each prompt. What was I going to say? You can earn there. The rules are no rereads. You can reread if you do like for every 10 books that you read, or there's a spreadsheet where you can track points and you can earn points to earn a read. I highly suggest that you check out QWERTY's announcement video. She's got a website. She's got a frequently asked questions document. It explains everything. There's a Discord. Totally recommend that. Pardon me, I need to drink. So, also, I apologize on the lighting. It's been kind of a gloomy day, but I wanted to film this while I can. They are doing roof work on my building, and yesterday they started at 8 in the morning. They worked until just a little bit past 10 p.m., which I was floored. I may or may not have emailed my leasing agencies about that today, because I was like, this is ridiculous. Now, fortunately, I'm off for the summer. Also means that I was going bonkers this morning and yesterday, trying to figure out, like, what can I do to get myself out of the house. But at any rate, without further ado, the first set of prompts I'm going to go through is the Heritage Month. If you catch me looking down, actually, let me grab this. What I do, just so you're aware, if this is your first video catching this, I took there are planner sheets that QWERTY's friend Asura created on her website, and so I've got these planning pages. These, yes, it's written in pen, but it's the friction erasable pens. So I write it in pen, or I write it in something that's erasable. Once I've read it, since I usually I can speak. So usually what I do is I typically write things in pencil. I didn't have a pencil available, so I wrote it in the erasable pens. So I might just color in when I'm done with the book, so I know that it's done. All right, let me leave those pages here in case I need to refer to them. I'm going to move my camera, sorry, so that way I have access to the pages if I need them. So for the Heritage Month prompts, you do not have to read the book during the month. But if you do read it during the month, then you get extra bonus points. Okay, so for Black History Month, I plan on reading the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. This has been on my TBR for years, 3 years, I think, 3 or 4 years. It is time. This is also on my Our Fantasy Bingo, so it is time. But all I really know is kind of like the world is dying. It's written, there are some POVs that are written in second POV. So you did this, you did that. So I don't know. I've heard really good things about it. So looking forward to finally reading it. For Arab Heritage Month, I plan on reading The Lion Women of Tehran by Marjan Kamali. And this is set in 1950s Tehran. And 7-year-old Ellie lives in grand comfort until the untimely death of her father. So it forces her and her mother to move into a tiny home downtown. Lonely and bearing the brunt of her mother's endless grievances, Ellie dreams of having a friend to alleviate her isolation. So then she goes to school. She meets a girl at school, Homa, and they play games, and she becomes friends with her. And then Ellie and her mom has the opportunity to move back to their bourgeois life. And so, yeah, I think it probably is about friendship and then moving apart and then meeting back up later in life, I think, from what I gather. So I've heard good things about that book. For Indigenous heritage, that it could be indigenous to America. It could be indigenous to Australia. It could be whatever people group that is indigenous to a specific country. Okay, so it doesn't have to be America. This is a reread. So if I have enough bonus points, I could do this as a reread because I've got enough new books. That would be Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. I gave this 5 stars when I read this 2 summers ago. And I read, like, as soon as I finished reading this book, I ran out to the bookstore and picked up Fever Starred and started reading it. I do have Mirrored Heavens. I started reading it last year and realized I need to reread, actually, maybe I read this 3 summers ago. I need to reread Black Sun and Fevered Star before I read Mirrored Heavens. But if you don't know what this is about, the premise is civilizations set in pre-Columbian Americas, and there are these celestial prophecies and forbidden magic, and we have a sun priest who's kind of going against this Serapio, who is like blind and he's scarred and he's got his own destiny that he needs to fulfill. And the first chapter really is like, what just happened? It really starts off with a bang, and I felt like it just continued to go from there. For women's history, I don't have the book. I plan on reading Radium Girls, which is the story of women who made watches for our soldiers, and like they glow in the dark. They use radium to glow in the dark, and they would like put the paintbrushes in their mouth to make it like such a fine, thin point, and they were ingesting radium, and we know that that's bad. So, looking forward to reading that. I've heard good things about that book. I don't read a whole lot of nonfiction, so this is going to be a stretch for me this year. There's more nonfiction that I have to read. So, for Jewish heritage, I plan on reading The Pomegranate Gate by Ariel Kaplan. I have been meaning to read this for a couple years now, or maybe a year and a half. But this is about a girl who can speak in dreams, and but she has all these different talents that she keeps hidden from her grandparents. From what I understand, this also deals with, I'm trying to summarize the flap. You know what? I'm going to just read the flap because I'm having a hard time doing that. So I apologize. So the first adventured in the Mirror Realm cycle, a Spanish Inquisition era fantasy trilogy inspired by Jewish folklore with echoes of Naomi Novik and Catherine Arden. Now, I loved Bear and the Nightingale. So Toba Perez can speak, but not shout, sleep, but not dream. She can write with both hands at once in different languages, but she keeps her talents hidden at her grandparents' behest. Naftali Carrasquez sees things that aren't real and dreams things that are. Always made to feel like the family disappointment, Naftali would still risk his life to honor his father's last wishes. After the queen demands every Jew convert or face banishment, Toba and Naftali are among thousands of Jews who flee their homes. Defying royal orders to abandon all possessions, Toba keeps an amulet she must never take off. Naftali smuggles a centuries-old book he's forbidden to read. But the Inquisition is hunting those particular treasures, and they're not hunting alone. Really looking forward to reading this one. All right, let me turn the page. For Hispanic Heritage Month, I plan on reading The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. And this is a novel told in verse. I've heard wonderful things about it. And the seniors at my school, they read this book in some of their classes. So I need to read this book because if I have any seniors on my caseload who have that class and might need help with any of their assignments related to this, then I want to be able to help them versus like, I don't know, I'm not in that class, I don't teach it, I don't know what you're talking about. I can say, I read it, I know how to help you. For LGBTQI plus Pride, I plan on reading A Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett. So this is a mystery. It's book 2 in a series, and we follow Din, who goes out to the crime scenes, and he has a special ability where if he smells something, takes in the scene of the crime. Then when he goes back to tell Anna, our sleuth, and he smells that same scent, he can recall with perfect recall everything within that crime scene to tell her about it. And from what I understand, he's bi. I knew in the first book he did have a relationship with a male. From what I understand, he is bisexual in this book. So that we learn more about his sexuality and he's bi. So I've been looking forward to reading this book. For AAPI Heritage Month, I plan on reading Blood Over Brighthaven by Emma Wang. I read Sword of Kaigan this month and absolutely loved it. Can't wait to read this book. And from what I understand, this is about Sayona, is what I want to say her name is. She wants to study magic, and she wants to get to this certain level of magic studies at the university. But, high mage, but no woman has ever been a high mage. And so that's shocking. So I'm looking forward to reading this. I've heard fantastic things about this. So plan on reading that. And then for Disability Pride Month, I do plan on reading My Body's Not a Prayer Request, Disability Justice in the Church by Amy Kenny. I've heard good things about this book. It's been on my TBR for some time. I've started reading it because I tab. You can tell I have not finished it. So plan on reading that. And then we have to read 5 books that have been translated. So I plan on reading A Winter's Promise by Christelle Dabos. And this was written in French. It's book 1 in The Mirror Visitor. It's a YA fantasy series. And let's see. A mix of awkward misfit and misunderstood genius, Ophelia cares little about appearances or other people's opinions of her. She possesses 2 special gifts, an unrivaled talent for reading the past of objects and the ability to travel through mirrors. Her peaceful, if somewhat dull existence on the Ark of Anima is interrupted when she is promised in marriage to Thorn, a taciturn and influential member of a powerful clan from a distant Ark, the cold and icy pole. Ophelia must follow her fiancé to the towering city of Città Celeste, where nobody can be trusted. There, in the company of her inscrutable future husband, Ophelia slowly realizes that she is a pawn in a political game that will have far-reaching ramifications not only for her, but for her entire world. I've heard really good things about book 1. The rest of the series, I haven't heard too many positives, so we shall see. The next book I plan on reading, I don't have a copy of. I don't have it yet. And that would be Before the Coffee Gets Cold. It's widely popular. It's translated from Japanese. It's short, which is what I need. So that's why I picked it. I also plan on reading Marguerite and the Yellow Dog by Simenon. This would be translated from Flemish or French. I'm not sure which. From the French right here by Linda Asher. So Simenon, he is Belgian, and this is just a short mystery. So looking forward to reading that. I then translated from the Italian. I plan on reading My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante. This is just the first book in a quartet that follows Elena and Lila in the 1950s in a poor neighbor on the outskirts of Naples. And it just follows their friendship. And I've heard fantastic things about the series. So And then finally, for translations, I need to read The Three-Body Problem by Shixian Liu, translated by Ken Liu. And really all I understand is that this is, I think, first contact with aliens during China's Cultural Revolution. So, yeah. I have not watched any of the series for any of these books yet. So, need to do that. All right, for Around the World, we are traveling to the different continents of the world. Antarctica, you can read for, but it is a bonus. So, if you want to read for Antarctica, you don't have to read for Antarctica, but you can. I do recommend Inkblood's Sister Scribe. One of the sisters in that book, she works at an outpost on Antarctica. So, do recommend that. Really enjoyed it. But for North America, I plan on reading Marilla of Green Gables by Sarah McCoy. And this, of course, is an origin story for Marilla Cuthbert. And we follow her life when she was younger, prior to the events of Beloved and of Green Gables. So I have been wanting to read this for some time. For South America, I plan on reading Bel Canto by Anne Patchett. And this is when there is like a hostage situation during the country's vice president's birthday party. So, yeah. I've heard really good things about this book. So, for Africa, I plan on reading Cry, the Beloved Country by Alan Patton. I have not read this book. I did not have to read it in school. But from what I understand, this is about a Zulu pastor and his son set in South Africa during apartheid. So it should be good. I've heard fantastic things about that. For Europe, it is Jane Austen's 250th birthday. And I did not read this whole book. I know I read one of the books. It's a bind-up of Lady Susan, the Watsons, and Sanditon. So, Lady Susan is about, obviously, Susan. The Watsons says it's a delightfully tantalizing story and about the Watson sisters in a small provincial town. Sanditon is set as a seaside town, and it seems concerned the new speculative consumer society and foreshadow the great social upheavals of the Industrial Revolution. So, yeah. The virtual book club that I'm in, we're going to read Sanditon for July. So, to set that aside, because I have to read that next month. For Asia, I plan on reading Independence by, I'm going to butcher this name, Shitra Banjari Divakaruni. I sincerely apologize. If you know how to pronounce that name, please let me know in the comments below. I want to get the author's name right. I should have looked up how to pronounce it before filming. I apologize. So this is about 3 different sisters who live during the time when in India, 1947, and there's the split from India and Pakistan, I want to say, and some are on the Hindu side, some are on the Muslim side, from what I understand. So I don't really know anything about this history. So I'm looking forward to learning about that. And then for Australia, I've been meaning to read this for a little bit. That is A Forgotten Garden by Kate Morton. I've only read one book by her, and I've since then acquired like 3 or 4 more books. So I apologize for the glare from the light. I apologize. I've got a library binding on this. But this is set in Australia. A tiny girl is abandoned on a ship headed for Australia in 1913. And then she's taken by a dockmaster and his wife and raised as their own. And then they tell her the truth when she turns 21. So she goes back to England to try to figure out her story. And then I think it's also told in like modern times. So, because Kate Morton typically does dual timelines, from what I understand. And the cover is beautiful. We've got pretty end pages, and I've heard this is one of her best books. So, whew. So what I just covered, I covered Heritage Months translated around the world. I do plan on covering next. I'm not gonna do Make a Quote and Spooky Creatures next, and Become the Avatar. That will be my next film. So thank you so much for watching. Are you planning on doing the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do? Have you read any of these books that are my TBR? What do you think I should prioritize? Talk to you later. Bye.